Hello and welcome to our special 24-hour Captain's Table for Charity. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, and your facilitator here on the Captain's Table. Now, the Captain's Table is a podcast that I've been doing for almost 9 years now, where we talk about Star Citizen. I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen. And over the last couple of years, we've been doing these post-CitizenCon 24-hour live streams for charity. Now, you won't see all these wonderful folks for 24 hours. You will see my beautiful face for 24 hours. So I'm abusing my body for everybody else, but usually having a good time talking to people. And in some cases, a lot of people who wouldn't be able to participate normally because of our time frames. This year, similar to last year, we're raising money for charity for Gamers Outreach. And luckily, we have an expert on Gamers Outreach here, Mr. Crucian. So I'll start with Crew at this one. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And what is Gamers Outreach?
Hey, appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much for having me in the first block. First of all, I'm a little bit tired, but
it's
it's
a
all
little
good.
early for us, and you just came back from the UK, so
Yeah, but it's okay. I'm really happy to be here. But I'll kick it off. I'm Crucian. I do quite a bit in the industry here, so I help a lot with Atmo Esports. I'm actually the marketing director at Gamers Outreach as well. So not only an expert, but I'm the one that actually works on the marketing materials. So I actually go to hospitals and see these childrens and see these go karts in action and take the photography. So to answer that question is that Gamers Outreach is a nonprofit organization that helps enhance the patient experience, especially in children's hospitals, with technology. So the way we do it with technology is that we actually bring these video game kiosks to the children's hospitals for kids to have accessibility to video games. And by us doing that, the kids have so much more to do. The go-karts are used for things like pain management, just a distraction tool for kids to be able to hopefully, not make the hospital feel like it's a hospital, make it feel a little bit more tolerable while they're going through that entire treatment process. So that's what Gamers Outreach is all about. Not only do they have the go-kart program, they have other programs as well, such as like Safe Point, and they have a volunteer program. So the volunteer program, if you have a children's hospital in your area, you can actually sign up to volunteer and possibly go help us do maintenance to these go-karts and actually set up and play games with the kids. And because honestly, like I've seen it so many times where kids are like, I love my parents, but I'm so tired of playing with them. so
as a,
so
as a
yeah.
teacher, I can tell you, like sometimes those sorts of change-up distractions can mean the world to a kid who's so used to
Yes.
routines. So, and especially since
Yes.
anybody who's been in a hospital knows hospitals are not meant for kids. Even children's hospitals aren't really built for kids. So
Yep.
I've been helping at Gamers Outreach for a couple of years now, and right now they're doing this big benefit called the Spooktacular Spookathon or Streamathon, which is going on for the month of October. So a couple of years ago, they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to participate. And I said yes, and so we've been mostly doing it for this for the most of that time. So, and it just so happened that Crew is the marketing director, so we're just like, this is perfect. So this is a great little thing. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's it. Otherwise, everybody should know me from the Star Citizen community. We just pretty much did enter atmosphere at CitizenCon, which was, man, one of the most tiring nights of my life. I pushed myself beyond limits that night to put that show together with the Atmo Esports team, but it was a success, and it seems like everybody was happy. We had close to a little bit close to like 900 people
whew,
there, which was insane. And just the reaction of we just put out a video and seeing the reaction of like Chris and Sandy talk about like our setup and the stage and how we put the whole event together, and Chris on stage talking about like how our event was bigger than their initial Citizen Cons in the beginning it was a heartwarming moment for the entire team. So yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah, the Atmo Esports team does a lot of work. As somebody who's been following and been in the background of background cheerleading for Atmo Esports. But many of you don't know that when they started, they were called Daymar Rally, and when they it was like second year of Daymar Rally, I decided to through Algrid, actually, who said, "Hey, you should do." Thank you, Sly5, for that donation, by the way. To do a lore post, they said a lore post, so you should do it. So I took their lore and turned it into a video for the Galactic Historian at that time. That's now the Astro Historian. And since then, it's been made canon. So it's really nice to see all that happening and going on, and them expanding and such. So yeah, I gotta change that overlay. It's a little off. It's the problem about that overlay system, is that you can't see it live. But thank you so much, Sly5, for that $100. Whose comments for the kids. Next, let's talk about a newer face on the captain's table, but definitely not a newer face here in the Star Citizen community, Mr. 10#42. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Hello, yes. Thank you for having me. I had so much fun with you the other day, Paul, on Space Smartest thing. I thought
that was great.
I want to do it all over again.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
It was really fun. No, it's good. And yes, I'm just on YouTube. I'm too scared of all these other social media places to show my face there, so I just stick to YouTube. And my stuff is generally performance stuff about the game. I tend to do lots of running around Lorville, especially trying to get data for different CPUs and GPUs and things like that to try and help people run the game half decently. And so, yes, some of that stuff. And then I've also been looking at things like servers, the kind of slightly more technical parts of the game. And occasionally I will make the huge error of just giving my opinion on things, which is probably a mistake, but fun.
So I do have to ask a question, because this is something that's been brought up a lot, especially by folks who just came back. For the people who just came back, maybe after 2 years, 3 years, a year or so, I'll just start you off with this, and then we'll move on to talk about Bo, because this is your realm. Has the game improved in performance over the last couple of years, or say the last year, in your experience?
Oh, good question. I mean, I have probably got the data to go back and look, but the short answer is kind of. I mean, it's improved in that if your GPU if your graphics card in your computer is struggling, which isn't normally the problem with Star Citizen, but if that is the case, there is now upscaling in the game, so you can get a bit of a bump in performance if you are GPU bound. But CPU bound, it kind of fluctuates a bit with each patch. The only thing that's probably really improved over the last maybe 2 years is that now you can buy faster CPUs and RAM and things like that, and that helps. But the game, we mentioned this the other day, but there's some rumors of some optimization maybe coming in with 4.0 based on some of the work that they were doing on Squadron 42. There's rumors that some of that stuff might come back, so we might see some interesting stuff with 4.0. But on the whole, it's pretty similar probably from a couple of years ago, but you might have better PC parts, so it might run better. It's the short version.
Okay, so it's more hardware dependent than it has been in the past.
It's always been, the CPU has always been the big problem, really. It's probably just now that there's faster stuff. And interestingly, in the next kind of week or so, we're going to get a new CPU from AMD, the 9800 X3D probably, which is the kind of great hope for the next couple of years to get a bit more performance. So I'll be testing that at some stage. But yeah, it's a funny one. They're not really at the point where they're bothering doing real optimization for the game. They're still obviously building the foundations almost with the tech stuff, with server meshing and things like that. So it was an interesting thing to see on the 1. We can get into this in a minute, but the 1.0 slide, the first thing that popped up when Rich talked about was improved performance, and that will be really interesting to see how they go about that over the next few years. But for now, it still doesn't really perform like a real game. It still performs like a bit of a mess. But
yeah, like an alpha.
You can do certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, another new face. I think you may have been on one of the tables before. No.
Nope.
Well, you've heard his voice before, especially if you've been following Star Citizen on TikTok, because I know Bo does a lot of work on TikTok. Mr. Botox, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Hi, I'm Bo. I talk a lot.
It's in the name.
I make TikToks. I do stupid videos because I'm only funny for a minute at a time. So find me in game, probably somewhere on Microtech, usually crashing into the ground. And You can find me at Botox TikTok on TikTok because I stared at camera in this very room.
Nice.
So the background may look familiar.
Awesome. All right, so let's get started with the first question for everyone for today, which is CitizenCon. I'm going to go for the initial reaction. I'm going to start with you, Bo, and then I'm going to work Bo, then Crucian, then 10 pound 42. Initial reactions, just what hits you first with CitizenCon? You know, it can be the goods or the bads. We'll go over the individual goods and bads after this, but
CitizenCon for me started out as like, okay, it's here. Let's see what they're doing. Okay. Holy, okay, yes. So overall, loved it. The feeling I personally had from it was like kind of a mess of a year. So ended on a high note. I'm happy.
awesome. All right, and crew, initial thoughts. I mean, it's probably different because you were there in person. So, what your initial impressions of CitizenCon?
Yeah, just because I wasn't in person, that doesn't mean I was actually there. No, so I was there on Saturday, most of Saturday, but I wasn't there at all on Sunday. But I still tuned in to to obviously the redacted panel, and that kind of made me super excited because like I knew we were getting some type of date, but yeah, I'm excited, man. Like I don't want to kind of go into details, but like it went from like, you know, like Botox mentioned, like it kind of built up towards the end there, and then on Sunday you're like, oh damn, like, you know, this is moving fairly quickly, or is gonna start moving fairly quickly. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm gonna give it a probably like an A, not an A minus, not an A plus. I'm gonna give it an A.
An A.
So.
High praise. 10 pound 42. As you were also there. I guess I accidentally split it up between the people who were there and the people who weren't there. But you know, your impression on CitizenCon overall, like just initial sort of feelings about it, vibes.
Yeah. I think it was interesting being there because normally when you're watching at home, you have your own reaction and you don't really feel the reaction of the crowd. But there was various points where in the room there was kind of either like sharp intakes of breath or just confusion, or the point when they mentioned the main story, people were like, it was just like everyone was like, what? It was really, so it's my kind of feelings were slightly, I guess, colored by being there and feeling the vibe almost in the room. But I came away, I think I was exhausted, and I came away feeling a little bit flat about the kind of lack of knowledge of where any of this was going, or where the kind of roadmap would look over the next few years. But I think ultimately there was some really amazing stuff in there, and I think to actually have a plan, even though there's no idea when any of it will happen, but to have a plan is a really good thing, and I think it was needed. This was a CitizenCon that we needed this year.
Okay. I'm going to refrain from telling my perspective until I am good and punch drunk at about 22 hours into the stream. So I'll start with I'll continue on with the next one. Let's do a kind of the compliment sandwich thing. We kind of talk about the vibes. Now let's talk about the bad stuff. So I'll start with you, 10 pound. What's the things that you were either disappointed with or you didn't like from this CitizenCon?
I don't know if there was anything I didn't like. It was more that I wasn't sure how far some of the stuff was along. So obviously, as we got to the vision for space stations is obviously unbelievable, and I don't think anybody probably is going to turn around and say, "I hate that. I wish they never even considered making spaceships." Everybody clearly wants that, but as the panel just kept getting crazier and crazier to the point that we're building Bengals, I started to wonder if this was going to come in any sort of reasonable time frame. So I think my only thing that I wasn't sure about, or maybe didn't like, was just that they were just throwing so many things out there that I think are going to take years to come to reality. But I wouldn't go as far as saying I didn't like it. I just I would have wished that maybe
Some restraint.
some restraint is the right phrase.
Yeah, they had some restraint on some of that. So, crew, how about you? Anything that that didn't strike you well? Anything you're disappointed with? Something you wanted to see, you didn't see, or just didn't like?
Yeah, I mean, kind of focus a lot on what's coming in the future. And I wish I guess probably because they show it in ISC a lot, but I wish it would kind of show like major improvements that would be coming within probably the next year or two. I mean, I don't mind that they, put out a lot of stuff that is coming out, like, 10-pound mention, like, but there's an unknown there of like when. I wish we would have kind of got a little bit of like a panel maybe for an hour and a half that kind of shows a snippet of like, hey, all this stuff is coming, mechanics or whatever it is within the game within like the next year that we want to focus on. I mean, they're probably going to still do that. Probably here shortly, probably in the next year or early next year or whatever it is. But I think that was something that I felt like that was kind of missed, because that way you're getting people in the beginning of CitizenCon excited for like, hey, this is coming in the next year. Here's what we're building up to. Here's Squadron 42, and here's 1.0 on Sunday. Kind of like building that up like that. So yeah.
So you kind of like a roadmap for the year, like a planned roadmap for a year, not necessarily like, because I mean, personally, I hate it when CSG says dates, but if they just said, hey, we're planning on doing this, and this, and this is on our list.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like
year.
dates or anything. It just has like, hey, these are what we're working on, coming up, and in the short term, and here's what we're doing in the long term, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, that would have been great, because a lot of it to me, and I'm not gonna say I watched 100% of it. I probably watched maybe like 65% of it so far. A lot of it was like talking about like the future and what's coming, which is super exciting. And I guess with the date of Squadron 42, it gives you an idea of when a lot of this stuff is coming around. But I'll talk about that probably when when we get more questions on down the line here. So
okay, Bo, your thoughts on negative thoughts, like anything you miss, anything else like that?
My negative thoughts are timeline, just like Christian said. It's everything was great. I loved it. I always love seeing new and fun things coming, but there was no timeline. There was no, hey, we're planning on getting this out now, or it's 50% done. There was none of that. It was just, here's some cool stuff, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. But it's Star Citizen at CIG. There is always going to be a timeline and a delay. And if we had some idea of where it was in that list, it'd be better.
Okay. All right. So now that we've said the vibes and the negative, let's talk about CitizenCon's positive, the things that just struck you as very, very good or something you really enjoyed. Maybe even your favorite panel or favorite moment. Bo, I'll start with you in this one.
Crafting. Hands down, crafting. I played EVE Online for quite a few years, and I was an industrialist nerd. I was sat in my belts, leave me alone. And it was my jam. And people had talked about the Star Wars Galaxy crafting system and how much better it was than EVE. And this feels that same way. So I
like an improvement on EVE.
An improvement on EVE and a far improvement on anything that they were planning before. So I'm super excited for crafting in general. Base building, yes, but crafting most of all.
Yeah, I love the Ian Nasir joke that they made in there, where they talk about someone sold me cheap copper, and I feel like I was the only one who get that joke. He'd be like, that's a meme. Like they're memeing on stage, and no one is getting the meme. What is going on? But I've heard a lot of people. I myself made the comparison. This feels like the crafting feels like if they took EVE and they took Star Wars Galaxies and they said, Keith, in terms of that sort of feel for it. Crew, your thoughts, positives about CitizenCon. What's the most positive thing you pulled out of it?
Org management. I know this might be small, but my lord, I have been wanting like some type of like party management, org management, all of that stuff. Like it is just, for me, is like a quality of life is how I'm gonna say it. I'm just super happy that a lot of people have that, because I think people have been asking for that for like 4 or 5 years now. So, and then I'll talk about this now is org management, party tools, better, all that stuff. Super happy with that. And then obviously a date for Squadron 42. Now, a lot of people, we're going to talk about these timelines, right?
Yeah.
Of like, we don't know when things are coming out. But the problem is that I talk about this so many times. In order for Squadron 42 to release, they have to be close or somewhere in the ballpark of 1.0, because the second they release Squadron 42, all these new players are going to be falling into the MMO. And if Star Citizen, the MMO, is not ready in somewhat way or form, which to me is going to be at least 1.0, then they're going to lose a lot of opportunity to convert those people that are, how do you say it? They're going to lose a lot. Oh,
You're good.
where am
You're
I
good.
going?
I just refreshed your camera real quickly.
Oh, okay, but my bad.
Yeah, you're good.
There's a lot of people. They're gonna miss an opportunity to convert on all these, Squadron 42 players. So like, that's how I see the timeline. You
Mhm.
don't see it. They're not gonna tell you, but that to me, that
I
release date for Squadron 42 is the timeline.
almost certainly. I could definitely see that in terms of approach, because CIG wants to convert Squadron 42 fans into Star Citizen fans, and it's easy to convert us to start Squadron 42 because
Yep.
it's the same universe, the same gameplay, but more cinematic. There's going to be people who will or won't play it no matter what, but you're going to get more people of us to do it. But they need to get those people who are new coming into Squadron to Star Citizen. So that does make sense. Is that that release date also coincides with CIG's own attempt to get some 1.0 into more, or get towards 1.0. 10.42 positives, best thing that you saw at CitizenCon.
Yeah, I mean, the Squadron one was pretty mind blowing. Sitting there, obviously there was issues, but on the whole, I think all this time I've been wondering, are they actually going to pull it off? And it does look like they will, like from certain aspects at least. Visually, it was incredible. But I think, yeah, I probably think the crafting stuff as well, maybe. I think it's going to just bring some real purpose to the game. I was thinking about this the other day, just that if you've taken a load of time to craft a really nice gun that you've got, it's like your favorite gun, or whatever. You're now going to actually care if you die.
Yeah.
Because at the moment you just backspace, or there's going to be so many reasons because of the items in the game that you maybe have put effort into. There's going to be so many reasons that you actually want to look after your stuff and not just log off and be, stuff this, I'll come back tomorrow. So hopefully it will change the game in lots of ways. And also just the amount of things to grind and do in the game. It's just almost an endless list of content, really, for people to go off and do all the crafting stuff. So yeah, I think that will be very cool. That was probably my favorite thing.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree with that one, especially since the nuance of crafting, because they talked about how you're gonna only have so many materials that you can add to build this thing, but there probably is going to be different, like for like guns you can use aluminum and copper, maybe some guns will use aluminum and steel and plastics, and so you have a certain number of things, like, oh no, this, instead of aluminum you're going to swap this out for titanium or whatever, and each item is going to have a different effect. So if you have a really high quality item, it might increase your accuracy, or it might reduce recoil, or might increase cooling rate. And so you're going to be able to tweak and be like, this is exactly how I want to play. This is the gun exactly that I want to play it with. And that is going to be very important. There's going to be a lot of people who name their guns and be like, this is my gun. This is mine,
What's the Firefly gun?
Vera.
That's the one.
Yeah. I was thinking of Heavy from Team Fortress 2, Natasha, who touched Natasha, so yeah, there'll be so many of those. All right, so let's move on from CitizenCon to Star Citizen overall. And I'm going to start with Crucian on this. What is your opinion on Star Citizen in 2024? Was it a good or bad year, or somewhere in between?
Man, that's a tough one. To me, I feel like it was a very slow one. With me being slow, I don't, me, I always give constructive criticism to the game. I never really, want to put a negative light on it, but I feel like it was, I mean, we're not done yet. Right now, I believe 4.0 is somewhere in Evocati, so I think that, if 4.0 does, which I think it will, does make it out this year, I think it's going to be a successful year overall for Star Citizen in general as a game. But it's been a very, very slow year where like everything has come out towards the latter half of the year, which left a lot of people, like this summer or even before, with a lot of like drought in content and things like that. So that's just my thought. If 4.0 does end up coming out, even though if it breaks things, I think it'll be a successful year. If it doesn't, then I think that this year has been quite a flop.
Okay.
Even though I I haven't 3.2 point two came
Mhm.
out while I was at CitizenCon, so I haven't had a chance to jump in yet. So, but I'm very excited to definitely try out some life improvements and stuff in the game. But yeah, that's my opinion. If 4.0 comes out, I think it'll
It'll be
be a good
better.
year for the game. Yeah, way better. But for right now, I think where it's at, I think it's been just way too slow for all the stuff that they that they mentioned that they were gonna push out this year. So yeah.
10 pound 42. Same thing for you. Is this good, successful year, bad year for Star Citizen? Somewhere in between.
Yeah, I'm gonna ignore all of the fact that it has been a really slow year. I'm going to ignore the fact that it's felt in some ways that like nothing's happening,
Mhm.
because after however many years and however many times they've said they're going to get it to us, we actually have server meshing in player hands in a kind of half working state. So I'm ignoring everything else, and I'm going to say this is probably the most important thing that they could have done. It's probably the most important thing they could have done over the last 5 years. But getting server meshing actually, well, I won't say out because it's not out, but I mean, I've played a bit of 4.0 in Evocati, and so I've played server meshing in an actual version of the game, and there's obviously many things wrong with it, but that is such a crucial thing for this game's long-term future. If they couldn't get server meshing together, we're all stuffed. We might as well all give up. So the fact that they've actually pulled it off this year, and obviously it was meant to probably be the year before, and it was meant to be the year before that, and the year before that, but it's here now, and so I'm just ignoring everything else, and I'm partying on server meshing. I'm saying it was a
Okay.
great year, and yes, 4.0. I think there's a decent chance that it doesn't go live by the end of the year. It could easily just be in PTU over Christmas and into January and whatever, but for the long-term health of the game, I think it's been a really good year purely because of server meshing.
Okay. Bo, your thoughts? Good year, bad year, somewhere in between. My point exactly. My thoughts exactly.
It was a year.
It was a year.
And stuff happened. Overall, I kind of chalk it up to a bad year, a terrible year for Star Citizen. Everything seemed late. It was broken. We're coming out on some high ends, but I don't think it was a good year for Star Citizen at all.
Okay.
Possibly redeeming itself at the 11th hour, but
yeah,
it could just be everything's coming together and coming into place. Server meshing in 4.0 and capture chips and salvage and fixes to all of this, but the combination is kind of yeah.
Okay. I might break the rule in this one because I think I'll probably have different takes on this to go through this over this time. My thoughts will probably change, but I think the one thing that I'm really frustrated with CIG is that it always seems to be they coast on CitizenCon for the rest of a year in the beginning of the year, and then people give them a huge runway, a huge leeway because of CitizenCon in March through June, and then from June to September they just let it die. Like they completely they don't know how to continue the momentum. They just kill their momentum every year in terms of development, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a management issue. I don't know if it's just a planning issue. If it's just because shit happens and things happen and you just can't deal with it. Like development is complicated at times. I don't know what it is, but I really, really hope they turn that around next year, because I think that's really what killed this year was that they came into the year being like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, and 4.0 is scheduled for summer of this year, and for most people that means July. For CIG that means August, but even then. That still ended up, or September, and still, even if 4.0 manages to make it towards the end of the year, that's still like an entire quarter off base. So 3 months late from what they originally said there was going to be. And then they only started doing server testing in like September, really. Stuff they were supposed to have done months before. So there's always seems to be this sort of CIG gets a lot of momentum. They get a lot of sprint. And then when they hit like March, it just dies. And then they don't revive themselves until CitizenCon. And I don't think that's a sustainable trend. They have to continue to be at least get some momentum through. I guess that'll bring me to the next question. I'll start with. Go ahead. You were going to say something, Tim Pound?
I was saying, I think everything you say is completely right. The only thing they did slightly better this year, if you think back to previous years, is that the ISC content, we had the 4.0,
Oh, so much better.
loads of episodes with extra, which was, I think without that, we may have all just given up and died, because it was a rough few months for sure. But in previous years, it's been rough over the summer months, and we've had no ISC content. It's been like, here's a look at some flowers, or here's an audio team dropping a brick or something. But we actually got proper good ISC content this year, which I think did save that period of time to a certain extent.
Which I will mention is that I mean, we've had less patches this year than previous years, but I mean, the content has been a lot more, to be honest. So they've dropped quite a bit of stuff and, with less patches, which is totally fine with me, right? Like if all the big stuff is coming in 0.2 patches, 0.3 patches, that's fine. But they have dropped quite a bit for just dropping, 1 or 2 patches this year, to be honest. So
yeah, if 4.0 comes out at the end of the year, I do think that's the effectively completely changed the game from what it was last year to what it is this year. Everything will have changed by that point. Yep. Now let's talk about going forward. And I'll start with you on this, Bo, because I think you started the last thing. Is the outlook looking good for next year? And then the one after this, I'm going to ask for predictions. So, because Space Tomato always gets mad when I put him on the hot seat. So, no, I'm just going to do this for everybody and put you on the hot seats and give me some dates. So people can clip that out of context. But Bo, is the future bright for Star Citizen, despite it being, and even in your opinion, kind of a slow to bad year? Do you think next year's looking better?
Yes, absolutely it is. Whether we get 4.0 next week, next month, early January, March, whatever, that in itself coming out, currently being tested, pushes everything forward and makes everything, regardless of how much of an initial dumpster fire it is, makes everything better, because that's the next major step. We will get a second system in. Everything goes up from here.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. The future of Star Citizen is looking fantastic. And if Squadron 42 really is only just 2 more years away, then running into late into next year, we'll see Star Citizen really taking off with the amount of stuff that's coming to it as that game finishes.
Mm-hmm. Crew, is next year looking good or bad?
Yes, I think it's looking very good. And to Bo's point is that once we get that server mesh and tested and we have 4.0, we have Pyro, I think it's just about, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but it's just dragging and dropping systems at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally a drag and drop. So, I've been told this, on the side, and this is not a secret, but like there's going to be a point in this game where you're going to blink. You're going to be like, what the hell just happened? And remember, the last part of tech is in 4.0 with server meshing. And as soon as that gets put in, as soon as it's fixed, as soon as it's fleshed out, as soon as they get that tech working properly, it's literally like, oh, here's a system, guys. Oh, here's another one. Oh, shit, here's 1.0. Oh, shit, what else? Here's crafting. Here's base building. Here, go build yourself an animal. Like, it's going to be so much stuff that is going to start coming in just because of when 4.0 is out. People are going to be amazed. Like, once 4.0 out, you're probably going to get like 4.1, 4.2, and then all of a sudden it's 1.0. So,
yeah.
Yes, the future is incredible. This is honestly this is the timeline that everybody has been waiting for so long. It's like as soon as this timeline begins, that's when you're going to start getting a lot of people just pretty much jump back in the game and start wanting to really, really play again. So I'm really looking forward to it, because not only is it going to help the game grow, but like you know, like I'm excited to see what it does for like the stuff that we do at Atmo Esports and all of our events that we throw. Like I know it's definitely gonna bring
Camera
a lot more
drones.
people. Yes,
Camera
yes.
drones. I am so
Hey,
excited for camera drones.
hey. Which, by the way, we had a panel at Enter Atmosphere with Yogi, and he did mention that they want to do that. So yes. So I'm hope they can work on that. I feel like they already are. He probably hinted it, but I don't want to say that and put
Well,
anybody on
I mean,
on the.
that's
Heard it here
basically
first.
that's basically what we heard it first at Enter Atmosphere, which was streamed and is available on at Atmo Esports' YouTube, which you should watch if you haven't had a chance to. Especially if you were watching this content, you're probably the kind of person who puts me up in the background for like 3 hours while you're doing work or something like that. Bo,
Guilty as charged too, man. Like I've
Guilty as charged.
all the lore, man. I went through that in a drive down to Austin to go to a Bar Citizen. It was absolutely incredible. I don't even know if I was driving anymore.
and but yeah, if you want to, you go listen to that and listen to them and watch the content. But yeah, I think they said the fact of the matter is that the base building stuff, they mentioned drones, and
Yep.
and that means that system is using drones, and it's CIG, it's Chris Roberts, so I'm sure he's just like physicalized that drone. That can't just be a drone; it has to be a physical drone that you can see, and so that means that they'll have that system, and it's just camera drones that you place down buildings with. So,
Except for we assume it'll be a physicalized drone.
that's true.
The drones running are just basically playing an animation of a building being constructed.
Yeah.
In a random skybox. I doubt it'll be physicalized. Maybe eventually.
I don't think the drones are physically going to be building or anything like that, but I think the drone is going to be flying around. Yeah.
Meticulously detailed screwing in a board.
Yeah. 10#42. Is next year looking good for Star Citizen?
You guys set me up to be the reserve British
reserved
guy.
one.
Yeah, you've stuffed me up. I'm not going to say it's going to be. I'm going to say it's going to be. I would say it's going to be good with kind of like a
Caveat.
small font good.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll say, but I think there's a chance that that we're not quite out of the woods yet with all the server meshing stuff. So despite me being very happy that it's coming close, I don't know how long it's going to take over the next year for them to get it to a place where they're really happy with it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a few patches, maybe a 4.1, who knows, 4.2, where they're just testing things out and they're trying to work out what the best way forward is, because it is still very much they're in the testing phase with it. That's why we had all these tests of 200, 500, 800, 1,000, 2,000. They're still just working out what their current tech can do. So I don't think personally that we're quite at the point where it's all going to suddenly just click into place and it's going to be the downburst, the explosion of content. I'm not sure it's next year, but I think for sure we're in a more positive place. If you'd said to me 2 years ago, by the end of this year we'd be here, I'd probably take that as being that's a really positive step. So I think it'll be good. I think there'll be some interesting things that we see next year, but I am not convinced that it will be what we might say a good year. It could be quite similar in some ways to this year, maybe. But go on.
So how about if I put it this way? Do you think it's going to be right now in your current feeling, your current experience, and looking at things? Do you think it will be better than this year?
I don't know if I've just been burnt by this whole thing for so many years now. I just feel like I can't commit to saying it's going to be better, but let's just go with it. Yeah, okay. Come on, I'll get on board with you guys.
Yeah,
it's going to be great. It's going to be good.
Because I'm of two minds about it. I do think that it will be better, but I also am of the kind of guy who's like, I'm not expecting CIG to drop 2 systems and, you know, a bunch of new gameplay features. So if they manage to get Nyx in and they get, you know, elements of the story in, I'm going to be a very happy person. Like, that's just me. I'm going to be a very happy astro historian, which is, you know, to have some sort of like mission givers. I'd be like, yes, I will do this one mission that they only added 1 in the last year, but it's got a story to it. So I'm going to play the story, you know, or they add more information about the guilds in the game. That'd be great. But I do think that it will be, I'm hoping it's going to be better. I'm hoping they don't squander their momentum, because they have so often squandered that momentum. I'm hoping that they can build off of it rather than waste it. So, All right. I think that's it for the discussion section. So thank you so much for 10 Pound 42, Crucian and Bo for coming on talking. Make sure you check their social medias. We're going to be live. We're going to be taking a break for a few moments to let them use the restroom, get up and move around if they need to. And when we come back, we'll be doing question and answer sessions. For those of you watching well after the fact, I am not going to be posting this question and answer sessions on top of the discussion sessions because there's going to be 8 of them. And that's a lot of video content to edit and drop. So instead, I'm going to be mostly focusing on this. If you do want to see the question and answer sessions, I will have it there above 10 Pound 42. That you can click the link up there, and that will take you to the video that will be unlisted, not be unlisted. It'll be available for you to watch, which will give you the entirety of the question and answer sessions for all of the videos that'll be coming out in the future. And I'll try to put a timestamp on all of them so you have a general idea. Hopefully it'll work. YouTube tends to break long videos, so hopefully it'll work. But yeah, thank you for watching. I do want to shout out a couple people because we're here. We have raised $170, and the folks who have let's see, get back here. $160. I'm sorry, $160. And the folks who have donated are Macton, Crucian, who said, thank you for putting this together, AstroPub. Thank you, crew. Both donating $25. Then Ruben Soros donated $10, and Slyfi with $100 saying for the kids. So thank you all for those donations. The link will be in the description below and the top pinned comment for those of you watching after the fact. If you're watching this live, !charity will give you that link. So if you want to help raise money for the Gamers Outreach. Thank you so much for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.